Let's Play here. We are going to be getting further into some storage drawers work here. We've also got a bit more to play with Astral Sorcery and farming. You can also see that I've managed to get myself a horse, saddled it up. I have indeed ridden around. Some bad news in that the starlight areas I managed to find are a very long way off, so we're not going to be using them for the Astral Sorcery base area. We're simply going to have to just go with the other option of height, so we'll come to that later. First up, some of the digging that I've been doing has been to clear out this basement area, ready for what we're going to do with storage drawers. You can see I've put in some trim down here. This also goes underneath the floor to the central point here. The reason for using trim is so that your drawers connect to one another, and more importantly connect to the item we're about to make, the drawer controller. So drawer controllers, I don't know why I didn't make these beforehand. Drawer controllers are very useful devices. They will take all of the inputs for everything that is connected to them. So you can pipe into them, you can just click on them themselves, and anything that is in your inventory that can possibly go into the drawer network will do so. We also want to have a controller slave because I don't want to have to go down into the basement area each time, but you can do the same with controller slaves. You might be asking, well, why did you place the drawer controller down there if you don't want to be going down all the time? The reason being, it has a area of effect. It's 16 by 16 around itself, so by putting it down there it will connect to everything up here, everything down there, both sides. If I put it at this end, by the time I get to the far side over there, it's not going to work. So by having everything in there, also if I want to carry on going down, if I do end up needing to make multiple levels, so by putting it in the middle it will have the radius I need. Also means I can expand further that direction as well if I need to. So we also then want to make a slave for it, so we've got an access point up here which we're just going to put in here, which means I'll just be able to come in, I'll just be able to right click on that and put everything away, not have to worry. Before we do that though, we've got one other thing we want to do, and that's we need to make some upgrade templates, because we want to make our first draw key. Now, draw keys mean that we can lock everything that is in here. So if I lock this and then take out those planks, it remembers that it should be planks in there, which is really useful. And I've just found I can't actually right click on a controller slave to deposit items. Great, lovely. Well, that messes that plan up slightly, but we'll work out what we want to do on that going forward. So right clicking on the drawer controller will put everything away that could possibly go away into there. Similarly, right clicking on the drawer controller with the key will lock every drawer that is connected to it, so we don't have to go through and lock them all individually. So now each of these is locked. We can take every item out from it and it will remember and take it back in. So it's a little bit annoying that the controller slave doesn't work the way I thought it did, but there is things we can do in relation to that anyway. I mean, we could just put a hopper on it so that it will just take the items in, or a input chest potentially down here in the corner with a pipe that runs around the back and into it. That might be the way we go. That means getting into thermal a little bit, which, I mean, we've got the materials, so let's let's get a duct going. We'll have an input chest. So item ducts, tin and lead, which we've got plenty of. So we don't need very much. Cook these up. Go. So that's our item ducts. Got a spare chest. Just move this crafting station. This is going to go in round behind here. Like so. Now, what we want is to make ourselves a crescent wrench, because I'm not a fan of them connecting. 3 iron and another piece of tin. I don't imagine it will cause a problem, but just to be on the safe side, let's remove the extra connection points. So this will only connect to the draw slave. There we go. Put some cobble in there. This sandstone pillar in there. In fact, actually, don't put that just yet, because we're going to need to have access to a servo, which is some iron, nuggets, redstone, and paper. I need to put that down there. Is it not pet? Have I got the recipe wrong here? It's glass, not paper, of course. Let's just put the paper away over there for now. We have glass. So the servo will then extract items into the network. So it takes a little bit of time. We can get faster servos later when we get better materials for it. And we can also get covers later as well to stop that from being a glaring hole. But that will do nicely for now. So that will pull any items in. For now it will try and pull every item in, even if it can't actually go into the network. And that will clog up the pipe, so we just have to bear that in mind and only put away things that actually have a home. Like if I try to put that sandstone pillar in, it won't go anywhere, because the only type of sandstone it can have is a regular block or the chiseled block. I'd need to turn it into one of those first, and if I try to put tin in, it's not going to go anywhere. So between sessions or between clips here, I'll be expanding these compacting drawers so that I can have more of the metals, and those will go around the room, and just generally putting things away. We're going to want to get into a remote access for everything in the drawers, which will hook off the drawer controller itself, but we're going to need better power for that. Let's have a quick look at what that's going to take. I think the thermoelectric's probably our best bet, because it's nice and passive one. So that takes steel and constantan, which is not too bad. That's, I'm sure you can. There we go. Alloy, copper and nickel. Yeah, we've got a good amount of that. So let's cook that up for now. 6 blocks would be nice. And we'll need to work out exactly what we're going to do for steel. Getting the immersive engineering blast furnace up and running. Maybe our next port of call. But yeah, considering the Astral Sorcery stuff is quite a way over that direction, we're going to want to have instead a tower. I'm thinking putting it around about over here. Nice large open area. Tower up here. I'm trying to settle on a nice design. I don't want to just have an ugly tower, but at the same time it needs to be quite large. The altar itself, the max size one, is 11 by 11, and then you're going to want a walkway around it and space for a few different bits and pieces up there. So you're probably looking at about a 17 by 17, everything said and done. And a tower that big just doesn't look quite right unless it goes extremely tall, and it doesn't need to be that tall. We're probably looking at about 10-12 blocks high. So it'd be more of a large square squat building, which doesn't sit well. So I'm thinking probably a tower and then like a branching arm extending out for the altar on one side, but getting that to look right rather than just having a floating platform is pretty difficult. So leave that with me. I will go and have a quick play with some designs, and we will come back momentarily to see what I've been able to settle on. You may all shout at me and say it's ugly, but we can look at that later. So see you in a moment. And welcome back. I think I have settled on a rough design. Just going to need to carry it on up, which is going to require an awful lot of basalt, so that's something we will do in between now and next session. Just a nice simple design. Just going to use a ladder to get up to begin with. I was thinking spiral staircase, yada yada yada, but then realised that actually getting that high with a spiral staircase is just going to be really tedious to walk. So instead we're just going to focus on a straight up ladder up this side. There'll be a little platform on this edge where like the various machines later will be, and then the altar itself will be starting like here and hanging over the back, and we'll put in what will appear to be like support struts, like anchoring it back down, just to make it look good. I did go and have a look around for those cows, as this is a little pen that I'd built for them, and it seems like they've all turned into horses. As the only passive mob anywhere nearby seems to be more horses, which is a little bit frustrating, so I'm going to have to venture further afield to bring those back. Probably make a lead or something, just to keep it a little bit easier. Yeah, so I thought I'd share the basic idea. There's going to be an awful lot of basalt mining in my future. That doesn't spawn in large quantities. It's just found around lava, which is going to make it a little bit of a slower going digging expedition. But that's what I'm going to do between now and next session, not just between parts. So I think the next part then will be to instead get started on the immersive blast furnace so that we can get that steel for our better generators. So for this we're going to need blaze powder, which is a little bit of an issue actually, thinking about it. Nether bricks and regular bricks. We've got plenty of clay, so that's not a problem at all. We've got a few bricks already, so I think we only need 36, is it? Yeah, because it's a 3x3. So we'll need to cook up 32 more clay bricks. Just interrupt that, we don't need too much of that. We'll need 36 of this. You know, I've got a spare duct. Let's make another servo and we can just output from the chest, from the furnace. Which means I can walk away from things that bit easier. Not having to stand over everything. And oh yeah, a hopper, so that we can feed in. Oh, okay, so if it doesn't have a thing, it doesn't pull it. Excellent. That's a lot better actually. Right. So chest there. This room's getting very, very messy. I'm going to need to tidy this up because it's going to annoy me. There we go. So I'm not putting the bricks out. Oh, does it have to be underneath? Frustrating. Yeah, there we go. That's working now. So that'll just pull the items out, so I can just store whatever needs to be smelted in there, and it will just output directly into the chest. Nice and simple. So we can go and do other things while that's cooking up. Okay, so doing okay for food. Oh yes, the other thing that I've been carrying around with me for a little bit. We're going to need some more decorative blocks, one of which being a particular type of wood. So I'm going to store some liquid starlight in world as a liquid there, and we can just drop certain items into it and this transforms them. In this case infused wood. If we put crystals in there, that's how we increase their size. So if you remember this one over here with the really high purity, you can get dropped into there and it will increase its size, although that will consume the liquid starlight. I don't want to be doing that just yet because I'm going to be using this kind of material as part of the decorative blocks in the Astral Sorcery location, so put that in there for the moment. And just carry on. So I'll be back when we've gone into the Nether and obtained ourselves some blaze rods, which is going to be a little bit on the annoying side. So I'm just going to repair up my star, because that's going to probably be the way we're going to have to kill the blazes. So I'll be back when I've found some blazes to kill. Okay, I'm back. I spy a spawner. So we've definitely got some available to us. Hopefully this area is not too open. No. Wait. There we go. You may also notice that the shuriken's no longer electrifying things I run around. That is because I swapped out the electrum between sessions, simply because the when you hit something with the electrum, your field of view changes, and it's kind of off-putting in the middle of a fight. So instead I've gone for lead. It increases the base attack just very slightly, but has the poisonous trait, so just doing damage over time, which is very, very useful. The other one that's quite good for damage over time is steel, which causes bleeding. No, I can't see because of that. Oh, there we go. 4 blaze rods, that's pretty good. Just a couple more. Of course, I say a couple more and then don't get any at all. Yeah, so I'm just going to farm this little spot a little while, and then we'll head back to the base. So it's nice and convenient Nether fortress as per never normally getting it. So definitely doing more of these streams if this is the kind of luck I'm going to get. So I'll be back when I've got a handful more, probably up to about 10 or so. I will see you back at base. Okay, so we're situated back at base. Managed to actually get a wither skeleton skull with my beheading sword on the way back, which was quite nice. So we've got ourselves our blaze rods. We need to fashion these into dust. Now we could just use them in a crafting fashion to get 2, but I would much prefer to get more bang for my buck, and in that case we're going to be using a squeezer from Integrated Dynamics. So you place this down in the world, place something that can change the redstone state next to it, and you place your item in it, and then you literally jump up and down. So don't know why I'm putting it's down there. You can see you've got a slight raise or lower section, and then you get your output items, redstone pulse and rinse repeat. There is a automatic version of this that takes power to do. As you can see, I got 4 from that one. It's a 3 guaranteed with a chance of getting a 4th, so very, very nice. It means your blaze rods go a bit further. So I just want to put some of those away. So I want to just put nether bricks in there, take them immediately back out, just to lock that for that slot. Okay. Now we want to make ourselves our blast bricks. We want to pick up a couple of iron blocks and get ourselves a tunneler. Smelting up some cobalt to repair my pick, because that is looking a little bit worse for wear. Let's have 2 blocks between it. So just like the coke oven, place this down. I'm gonna need to light up the area. Just square off the walls and see how bad it is. So torch there, yeah, good enough. Okay. Then we also need our engineer's hammer. Dink that. Something about the fluids. Get ourselves our coal coke blocks. Basically, this is 1 iron ingot, 1 coal coke will make 1 steel. In fact, actually, let's do it based on ingots because we don't need a huge amount in one go, and the time it takes is dependent on the item, so it's no quicker to smelt it as a block. There we go. Let's repair our tools. Let's upgrade the hammer as well, and use tin. There we go. So I've got a few modifiers that we can put on those. I think we're going to start off some quartz on each of them. That would take 32 to do it. Okay, 72 per level. Okay. In that case, let's put it on the sword for now. The sword's the important one to get up. The quicker we can kill wither skeletons, the less likely I am to get withered, the happier I will be, considering I don't appear to be able to find cows to get milk. But we'll cross that bridge, probably by having to build some bridges. Let's go looking around for them. I know there's one hovering around here somewhere, but I need a breeding pair. Deserts are not great places to look for. Might be some in here, but I know I think everything here is a horse, which is kind of ridiculous. I normally used to go games and games and games without seeing any horses. But we're getting ourselves some steel, getting ourselves slag as well, which can be used to fashion into clay or concrete, as well as phyto grow from thermal, which can be quite useful, as well as florbs and morbs for storing fluids and mobs. Probably use a fair bit for concrete. I quite like the aesthetic of that in the basement area, so I'd imagine the initial bits will be going towards that, and then later towards phyto grow, though there's other ways to get slag for that purpose anyway. So I'm going to go and dig up some basalt. Hopefully I will have the tower complete or close to the next time we record. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.